Hi, everybody. Eric from Hit Subscribe here, and today I'm going to be walking through an experiment in content marketing that we did over the course of a year. So it's a kind of writ large experiment that's pretty interesting. You will probably find this most interesting if you're either a marketing professional working for a company in a marketing capacity, or maybe an agency owner or a digital marketing service provider. Because what we did is basically a data driven case study that speaks to the value of digital content marketing, specifically through organic search, and basically proving ROI. So if you're interested in making a business case to either a superior or to a client about a good content plan and good content, then stay tuned because this is going to be the video for you. All right, so first, before I get into the specifics of exactly what we did and how we did it, I'm going to talk a little bit about the why. We run Hit Subscribe, which is a digital content agency that specifically works with companies who are targeting software engineers. And what we do in that capacity is we provide content. And so, as the person kind of responsible for sales, I have a lot of conversations with prospects and with clients about, are we getting our money's worth out of this content? So the why arose fundamentally out of those types of discussions. And what happens a lot when you're having discussions like this is, even if you're getting good results for clients, even if you're putting content out there that's doing well in share or doing well in organic search, it's kind of easy and understandable for someone to say, well, sure, all right, we're getting more leads, things are going well, but do we know that that's really you? Or maybe it's that we just recently redesigned the site and it's a lot better and performing better and that's what's doing it. Or maybe we hired some new sales staff. And there are all kinds of reasons that might promote good business through the site, in addition to what we're doing with our content. And so what I wanted to do, and the whole genesis for this, was to kind of isolate the piece that we're doing in a vacuum and then see how that performed by itself. So basically, you can think of this as kind of a controlled case study. And what I was looking to do is, I guess, sort of selfishly for our business, have something from a data perspective that we could point to in sales conversations where all of that other stuff didn't apply. And we were just isolating the variable of content and a good content plan. And then, of course, there is also the element of like general curiosity and just wanting a lab, so to speak, in which we could do content experiments. Now, talking about a lab in which to do content experiments, you might be wondering what this is we're talking about exactly. So I'll get to the point with that just so you have an understanding. We built a website that's called makemeaprogrammer.com, and the whole purpose of it was to create content and run an experiment of an entire website to see how that would go, how producing content would bring us traffic. So what we're talking about is actually an informational website that we built, and the purpose of it was to kind of serve as this content laboratory. But then, lest I sound like too much of a cynic, we also wanted to actually produce valuable content for the people that would consume it. So I do have visions over the long haul of this being a great resource for people who are considering a career transition or who are maybe in college and looking to become professional programmers. So kind of in order, I conceived of this as one, a case study for prospects and clients, number two, a laboratory where I could perform some content research experiments, and three, and this will become more important as time goes on, but an actual resource for people. All right, so with the why out of the way, let's talk a little bit about the what. So I covered that, makemeaprogrammer.com, but more specifically, like, what did we do? What did I do in building this site? Well, first of all, I picked a domain. I bought the domain and set up hosting in a WordPress blog, soup to nuts, in about 20 minutes. And I'll give you a look at that here. But basically, this is the most kind of stock build of a site you can possibly imagine. As you can see, I haven't even bothered to take out, the theme provided by and that type of stuff. So it was just soup to nuts, a website in 20 minutes. And that was it, because we didn't want the variable introduced of, oh, well, maybe you just have a really slick theme, or you're doing something great with the website design. In general, when it came to both SEO practices and the actual design of the site, the idea was to create just enough that we weren't hurting ourselves in terms of rankability or search, that people wouldn't see the theme and hate it, or that the site wasn't performing terribly in terms of load time. So it wouldn't hinder us, but it's nothing to write home about, either from a technical SEO perspective or from a website design perspective. It's just kind of vanilla. So speaking of SEO, what I did is I ensured that we were providing some schema and We can talk more about that in another video later if you don't know what that is, but also a sitemap. So basic SEO best practices. I went through a checklist just to make sure we were doing that and that the design was okay and it performed okay on, GTmetrix and sites of that nature. So it's a pretty middle of the road build. And basically I just created this site and put almost no effort into it, with the idea being that all we were going to do is focus on, one, the content plan, and two, the content. All right, now speaking of the content plan, my original ambitious goal was, let's provide about 50 pieces of content over the course of 3 months for this site, and then let's also monetize the site and do that with various forms of affiliate links. And so here was my initial conception. I think we started this back in August of 2018. Wow, that's a long time ago. So we started this a little over a year ago, and my ambition was create these 50 posts, do that from the beginning with monetization in mind, and then after a year kind of see where we were at. And my hope was that maybe we would be doing 3 or 4 figures a month in affiliate link revenue with that kind of input to the site. Why would I want to do that? Because I thought it would be very powerful in sales conversations a year later to say to prospects like, look, we built this site with nothing but elbow grease, a content plan, and good content, and now it's earning a few hundred or a few $1,000s a month, ideally. So think what we can do with you instead of, hawking Amazon affiliate links. Like, we are working with you, a client who has actual valuable offer other than just serving as kind of middleman brokerage. Like, think of what we could do for you in terms of ROI. All right, now I must admit that I was a little overly ambitious in the amount of time that I would have to dedicate to it, or that our authors for Hit Subscribe would have to dedicate to it. So what wound up happening was that we created about 13 articles over the course of a quarter, and then a couple more later. So there were a total of 15 blog posts that went in, and I also did not really have the time to do anything other than register an Amazon affiliate account. So I really never went and did much in trying to bring in affiliate revenue. So those were 2 areas where reality fell short of what we were setting out to do, at least in terms of what we put into it. So think of it this way, you hear the expression garbage in, garbage out. From a content perspective, it's not so much garbage, like we put good content, just less of it. And it's more like retirement savings or something. So, less money in the front door, less money out the back door. So we had to scale our expectations and hopes, given that we were doing maybe a quarter of the content we originally set out to do. Now, all that being said, we are proud of the post that we put out. So I'm going to show you kind of our internal WordPress instance. What we actually did was we produced 15 posts over the course of about a year, most of that being front-loaded in the first quarter. And what we did with those specific posts, we created something known as response posts, where basically what you're doing is looking for really long tail keywords specifically that are questions. And you then write posts answering those questions. And that's what we tell clients with pretty much no domain authority who are just getting started with content marketing, meaning the search engine doesn't yet trust them. We tell clients to start with response posts, answer very long tail non-competitive keywords to teach the search engine to trust you, because you are laser focused in those articles on answering searchers' exact questions. And that's what we did with those 15 articles. We wrote a bunch of response posts. All right, now in terms of the monetization, we did eventually do that, but it was basically just so that we didn't get booted out of the 6-month window on making a couple affiliate sales. So our original desire to have hundreds or thousands a month has only amounted to tens a month, but in our defense, I only actually kind of retrofitted some affiliate links on the posts a couple months ago, so they haven't really had a chance to get going. We, for all intents and purposes, kind of forgot about that initial goal. And I don't mean like actually forgot in that I didn't think about it at all, but we just kind of said, we'll put that off for later. It's not as important. We want to kind of demonstrate the traffic and the general uptick in people getting their eyeballs on the site. All right, so we produced the content. Now let's talk about kind of the other aspects of marketing here and what we did or didn't do more appropriately, because we were trying to isolate we were trying to isolate the content and the content plan as variables and eliminate as many other concerns as possible. So what did we do? We wrote those posts and we just published them as soon as they were done with absolutely no fanfare. So we didn't create any social media accounts for Make Me a Programmer. We didn't create any promotion campaigns. We didn't make announcements of the posts as we came out. We just published them at 1 a.m. on a Thursday, and that was it. They just went live, Google indexed them, and done. We didn't do any kind of link building outreach or link building campaigns. So everything that happened was basically us planning the content, creating the content, and then hitting publish and doing no more whatsoever than that. So we're not bringing in traffic in any way other than through the search engines whenever the search engines decide to index this content and give it a chance. So to summarize, like really no effort going into this. All right, and with all of that in the books now for the thing that you're actually probably the most interested in, which is what kind of results did we get? So I'm going to show you that here and actually pull up the Google Analytics for Make Me a Programmer. And what you're going to see is kind of a nice hockey stick graph. So for the first 2-3 months, actually 4 months about, that we were producing content, there was really no results at all to speak of, which is kind of to be expected. This was a brand new site with no domain authority. We were producing content, doing nothing in the way of promoting that content and just seeing what happened. So I think it was August to January, there was pretty much nothing, maybe a blip here or two of organic traffic. And then in January, we started to see a trickle. And through January, February of the next year, that started to grow, and then it eventually hockey sticked. And where we topped out is most recent figures, something like 450 visitors a week. We are on pace for this month to do more than ever before, which is something like 1,700 visitors. That's not bad for 15 articles and absolutely no promotion effort whatsoever, just putting them out there. So you get this hockey stick of traffic, and the thing that I kind of want to emphasize here for those of you, especially if you're prospects or clients of ours, is that kind of like compound interest and retirement savings, organic traffic continues to grow once you stop doing anything. So we wrote all of these articles, but we front loaded them. So we wrote them all almost before we started to get any traffic. And then we've maybe in the last 9 months done 2, and I think only 1 in the last 6 months. But our traffic figures continue to increase even with us doing nothing. And that's an impressive thing to take a look at. So you're seeing that nice kind of hockey stick growth, even with this tiny amount of traffic, no promotion, not a great website, nothing like that. And that's cool in and of itself. But the thing that I'm perhaps most proud of that we did here is with this great planning, you can see in the results on Google Analytics that literally every single post that we wrote for organic is getting at least some traffic. Now, a couple of them at the very bottom are getting only, or historically only ever gotten, maybe 4 or 5 visitors. So that's not great. At the top, we're talking thousands. So you're going to have some articles that are more successful than others, but I'm pretty proud of the fact that every single post we wrote has gotten at least some organic traffic. That is a pretty nice success story. So what's the takeaway here is I think that for you out there that are looking to do some digital marketing, whether it's to sell it to your company, to your boss, or to sell it to a client, this is a nice case study, which basically says you can get organic traffic if you're just willing to wait a bit and you do some good content planning and you do some good content creation. Follow, the basic best practices for these things. And even without all of the other variables that you might not have an easy time controlling, you can still bring in traffic. What you do with that traffic, how you monetize it, that's a story for another day. But this is the story of how, with even just a small amount of content and nothing else working in your favor, you can still get a hockey stick graph of traffic coming in through the search engine, which is pretty powerful. So go out and sell this to whoever you need to. And I would encourage you to use that metaphor of kind of compound interest like retirement savings. Organic traffic is an investment in long-term traffic. And it's an investment that you can have with just some good planning within your control. And it's an investment that will continue to pay off and grow even after you stop putting in the elbow grease. All right, so that's going to do it for this particular case study. If you like this, if it helped you, I would love it if you would give this a like. As we're growing the channel, those likes actually do help. If you want to see more stuff like this, you can go ahead and hit subscribe down below, and then if you want, click that bell. It'll notify you by email when new videos come out for the channel. If you didn't like it, you're welcome to give it a thumbs down. I mean, obviously, I don't really want that outcome, but engage however you please. We would love your honest feedback, however you choose to engage. And with that, I will say thanks for watching, and we will catch you next time.